The complete guide to better blood sugar control for everyday life. When people hear the words blood sugar, many immediately think about diabetes, hospitals, needles, or something that only matters if a doctor has already told them that is a serious problem. But blood sugar matters every single day, whether someone has diabetes or not. It affects your energy, your hunger, your mood, your concentration, your cravings, your sleep, your long-term health, and the way your body handles food. When blood sugar is more stable, people often feel clearer, steadier, and more in control. When it is constantly rising, crashing, or staying too high for too long, the body can start to struggle in ways that are easy to miss at first. That is part of what makes this topic so important. Many people do not think about blood sugar until a lab result comes back abnormal. They assume that if they are not diagnosed with diabetes, then blood sugar is not something they need to pay attention to. But blood sugar problems often build gradually through daily habits, excess body fat, poor sleep, chronic stress, low activity, unbalanced meals, and insulin resistance that develops quietly over time. Pre-diabetes can also go unnoticed for years, and many people do not know they have it. The good news is that better blood sugar control is not only about medication or complicated medical routines. In many cases, it starts with practical everyday choices, eating meals that are more balanced, moving your body more consistently, sleeping better, reducing excess sugar and ultra-processed foods, managing stress, and knowing your numbers. In this video, we are, go- we are going to break blood sugar control down in a realistic way and simple way. We will talk about blood sugar actually is, why it matters, what insulin resistance means, what habits support better control, what common mistakes people make, and how to start improving your blood sugar with, without becoming overwhelmed. Because better blood sugar control is not only about avoiding disease in the future, it is also about feeling better in your daily life right now. Let's start with the basics. Blood sugar, also called blood glucose, refers to the amount of glucose circulating in the bloodstream. Glucose is one of the body's main sources of energy. It comes largely from the foods you eat, especially carbohydrates, and the body uses it to fuel the brain, muscle, and many other tissues. The body does not just leave this process to change. It uses hormones to regulate blood sugar, and one of the most important of those hormones is insulin. Insulin helps move glucose out of the blood and into cell where it can be used and stored. When the system works well, your blood sugar rises after you eat, then returns to a healthy range as the body responds. Blood sugar control is not about keeping the glucose perfectly flat every second of the day. Some rise after eating normal is normal. The issue is when blood sugar stays too high too often, when insulin is not working efficiently, or when the body becomes less able to regulate glucose over time. That is why blood sugar is not just a diabetes topic, it is a metabolic health topic. It connects energy, appetite, heart health, weight, inflammation, and long-term disease risk. High blood glucose over time can damage blood vessels and nerves, and diabetes is linked with a higher risk of heart disease and stroke. Healthy blood sugar control means your body is handling fuel in a more stable and efficient way, and that affects much more than people realize. One of the biggest misunderstandings about blood sugar is the idea that it only matters once what someone has already crossed the line into type 2 diabetes. But blood sugar problems usually do not begin there. They often start earlier through insulin resistance and pre-diabetes. In pre-diabetes, blood sugar levels are higher than normal, but not that high enough for a diabetes diagnosis. Even at that stage, risk is already increased. Prediabetes raises the risk of developing type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. Another reason this matters is that blood sugar problems can be quiet. Many people feel relatively normal while important changes are happening in the background. They may notice more hunger, more fatigue, more cravings, more abdominal weight gain, or energy crashes after meals, but they do not immediately connect those things with blood sugar and insulin. Blood sugar also affects quality of life. When meals are poorly structured and blood sugar swings are common, people often feel sleepy after eating, mentally foggy, irritable, or hungry again very quickly. They may start relying on caffeine, sugar, or constant snacking just to keep going. This is why better blood sugar control is not only about medical prevention, it is also about more stable energy and daily functioning. And because lifestyle changes can help prevent or delay type 2 diabetes, paying attention early is one of the smartest things a person can do. If blood sugar control is the bigger topic, insulin resistance is often the hidden problem underneath it. Insulin resistance means the body cells do not respond to insulin as well as they should. As a result, the body needs to make more insulin to help keep blood sugar under control. Over time, this system can become strained. Blood glucose may start rising more often, and the risk of prediabetes and type 2 diabetes increases. This does not usually happen overnight. It tends to build gradually. Excess body fat, especially around abdomen, inactivity, poor sleep, chronic stress, genetic factors, and long-term eating patterns can all contribute. Not everyone develops insulin resistance for the same reason, but the pattern is common enough that many adults are dealing with it without fully realizing it. Insulin resistance often shows up as subtle patterns rather than dramatic symptoms. People may notice strong cravings, especially for carbs or sweets. They may feel sleepy after meals. They may find that weight, especially around the midsection, becomes harder to manage. They may feel hungrier more often or feel like their energy rises and crashes throughout the day. That is why the conversation has to be practical. Most people do not most people do not need fear. They need understanding. When you understand insulin resistance, you stop seeing blood sugar control as some mysterious, mysterious medical problem and start seeing it as something daily habits can influence in a meaningful way. When people hear control your blood sugar, they often imagine a restrictive life built around fear and constant monitoring. But for most people, better blood sugar control begins in simpler ways. It means meals that keep you full longer instead of leaving you hungry again in an hour. It means fewer dramatic energy crashes. It means not relying on sugar and caffeine all day. It means your body handling food more steadily. It also means paying attention to how your meals affect you. Some people notice they feel sleepy after a sugary breakfast or a large refined carb lunch. Others notice that when they eat more protein, more fiber, and more balanced meals, their appetite becomes easier to manage. This is one of the most encouraging parts of the subject. Many blood sugar friendly habits are the same habits that improve everyday life in general. More walking, better sleep, less liquid sugar, more vegetable, beans, oats, protein, and minimally processed foods. More consistency. So, if this topic feels medical, remember that it's also very practical. Blood sugar is not only managed in clinics, it also influences in kitchen, grocery stores, work breaks, bedtime routines, and daily walks. If you want to improve blood sugar, it helps to understand what tends to push in the wrong direction. One major factor is excess body weight, especially when a lot of fat is carried around the abdomen. This often connects with insulin resistance and makes blood sugar harder to regulate. Another major factor is physical inactivity. When muscles are used less, the body often becomes less efficient at handling glucose. Regular movement helps muscles take up glucose more effectively and supports overall insulin sensitive. Poor eating patterns also matter. Diets built around sugary drinks, refined carbs, frequent ultra-processed snacks, and meals low in protein and fiber can make blood sugar control harder. The issue is not that one carb-heavy meal ruins health forever. The issue is the repeated pattern of foods that digest quickly, do not fast, do not satisfy well, and encourage overrated. Poor sleep is another underestimated factor. Sleep affects hunger hormones, stress hormone, energy, cravings, and insulin sensitivity. When people sleep badly, they often want more high rewarding foods and have less patience for healthy habits. Chronic stress matters too. High stress can influence cortisol, appetite, sleep, and behavior. It can push people toward emotional eating, lower activity, and worse meal choices. Family history also matters. Some people have a strong genetic risk and, and may need to be even more intentional with prevention and checkups. And finally, smoking and broader cardiovascular risk factors matter because blood sugar problems rarely exist in isolation. Blood pressure, cholesterol, body weight, and blood glucose often cluster together. That is why improving a few core habits can have a wide effect. Carbohydrates are one of the most misunderstood parts of blood sugar control. Many people hear that carbs raise blood sugar and immediately conclude that carbs are the enemy. But that is too simplistic. Carbohydrates are not automatically bad, they are a normal source of energy, especially for the brain and muscles. The real issues is the type, amount, and context. Some carbohydrate sources are more supportive because they come with fiber, water, nutrients, and a slower digestion pattern. Examples include beans, lentils, oats, fruits, vegetables, potatoes, and whole grains. Other carbohydrate heavy foods are easier to overeat and less satisfying. Sugary drinks, pastries, candy, refined snacks, and highly processed foods can push blood sugar up quickly while doing very little for fitness. This does not mean every person must eat the same amount of carbs. Some do well with moderate amounts. Some need to be more careful. Some athletes or highly active people tolerate more. The key is not extreme fear, it is smarter structure. A meal built only around refined carbs often causes more trouble than a meal that includes carbs along with protein, fiber, and healthy fats. That is why the question is not simply, should I cut carbs? A better question is, how I can how can I eat carbs in a way my body handles better? That shift changes everything. If there are two nutritional tools that deserve a lot of attention for blood sugar control, they are protein and fiber. Protein helps meals feel more satisfying and can reduce the urge to keep snacking. It also supports muscle, which matters because muscle tissue helps with glucose handling. Foods like eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, fish, chicken, tofu, beans, lentils, and lean meat can be all useful. Fiber matters because it supports fullness, digestion, and a slower rise in blood sugar. It is found in vegetables, fruits, beans, lentils, oats, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. Many people would benefit from eating more fiber-rich foods as part of their normal routine. That is why balanced meals work so well. A balanced meal usually includes a meaningful source of protein, some fiber-rich produce, and a reasonable portion of carbohydrates and some healthy fats. This structure often helps people feel fuller, steadier, and less likely to crash. For example, compare a breakfast of sugary cereal alone with a breakfast with Greek yogurt, berries, oats, and nuts. Or compare a lunch of white bread and chips with a lunch that includes chicken, rice, vegetables, and olive oil. Both may contain carbs, but the second structure often works much better for blood sugar and appetite. Better blood sugar control is often less about eating less food and more about building smarter meals. If someone wants one of the simplest starting points for better blood sugar control, it is this: pay attention to liquid sugar. Sugary drinks are one of the easiest ways to consume a lot of fast digesting carbohydrate without much fullness. Soda, sweet tea, energy drinks, juice heavy drinks, and many coffee shop beverages can raise intake quickly while doing very little to keep hunger under control. This does not mean no one can ever enjoy a sweet drink again. It means awareness matters. When sugary drinks are frequent, blood sugar control and weight management often become harder. Replacing some of them with water, sparkling water, unsweetened tea, black coffee, or lower sugar options can make a bigger difference than many people expect. The same idea applies to frequent sweets and snack foods. Again, this is not about total restriction. It's about noticing what happens when highly rewarding foods become constant background eating rather than occasional intentional choices. A person does not usually improve blood sugar by chasing one superfood. They often improve it by reducing the obvious excesses that quietly add up every day. Exercise is one of the most powerful non-medication tools for blood sugar control. Movement helps your muscle use glucose more effectively. It supports insulin sensitivity, improves cardiovascular health, helps with weight management, and often makes the body better at handling carbohydrates over time. Regular physical activity is one of the key lifestyle strategies recommended for preventing or delaying type 2 diabetes. The good news is that it does not have to be extreme. Walking is one of the most useful and realistic options. Brisk walking after meals can help can be usually can be especially helpful for many people because it increases movement right when the body is processing income glucose. Strength training matters too. Stronger muscles generally help with glucose handling, and resistance training supports body composition, function, and metabolic health. 2 or 3 sessions per week can be valuable if done consistently. Other forms of cardio such as cycling, swimming, dancing or jogging can be helpful too. The main point is not perfection, it is consistency. Blood sugar control is supported by regular movement across the week, not by one punishing workout done once in a while. A lot of people think they are covered if they exercise a few times a week, but if the rest of the day is mostly sitting, that can still create problems. Long periods of inactivity can reduce overall movement, lower energy use, and weaken some of benefits that come from a more active lifestyle. Even for people who work out, daily movement outside formal exercise still matters. This is where simple habits become powerful. Walk for a few minutes after meals, stand during calls, take stairs when possible, use short movement breaks throughout the day, park far away. Do not underestimate how much these small actions add up. But sugar health is not built only in the gym, it is built in the rhythm of ordinary life. Many people try to fix blood sugar only through food, but sleep and stress matter more than they think. Poor sleep can affect insulin sensitivity, hunger, cravings, and energy. When people are tired, they are more likely to reach for quick comfort foods, skip movement, and relying on caffeine and sugar to function. Stress creates a similar problem. When stress is chronic, people often eat more impulsively, feel more emotionally reactive, and struggle to maintain routines. Stress also affects hormones and can make the body feel stuck in a state of pressure rather than balance. This is why blood sugar control is not only about carbs, it is also about recovery. Helpful habits include getting more consistent sleep, reducing late night screen overload, taking walks, practicing breathing exercises, creating calmer evenings, and, and finding healthier ways to deal with emotional strain. A more regulated body often makes better choices more naturally. Weight is not the only factor in blood sugar control, but it can still matter a lot. Excess body fat, especially around the midsection, is strongly connected with insulin resistance and prediabetes. The encouraging part is that someone do not usually need a dramatic transformation to improve risk. Even moderate weight loss can meaningfully improve blood sugar and insulin sensitivity, especially when paired with exercise and better meal structure. This matters because many people become discouraged when they cannot lose weight quickly. But blood sugar can improve through better habits even before major physical changes become obvious. More walking, more protein fiber, better sleep, less liquid sugar, more consistent meals. They are not small things. They are often the exact actions that support both blood sugar and body composition at the same time. The goal is not to lose, the goal is not only to weight less, it is to create a body environment that handles energy more effectively. You cannot manage what you never measure. That is why checkups matter. A1C is one of the most common blood tests used to look at average blood glucose over the past 2 to 3 months. It is useful to have diagnosed pre-diabetes and diabetes, and it can also help track long-term blood sugar patterns. This matters because many people assume they will always feel obvious warning signs if something is wrong, but prediabetes often has no clear symptoms. Getting screened can help people catch problems easier when lifestyle changes may have a major impact. It is also helpful to remember that blood sugar does not live alone. Blood pressure, cholesterol, body weight, and blood glucose often need to be looked together. This is one reason diabetes care often includes attention to the ABCs of diabetes: A1C, blood pressure, and cholesterol. Checkups are not about fear, they are about awareness. Good information helps you act earlier and more intelligently. One common mistake is assuming blood sugar only matters if you already have diabetes. Another is trying to fix everything by cutting all carbs instead of improving overall meal quality and structure. Many people also focus only on sugar while ignoring sleep, stress, inactivity, and excess body fat. Another mistake is meeting that are too small and too or poorly balanced, then wondering why cravings and snacking keep taking over later. Some people relying on motivation alone instead of building systems. Simple breakfast, planned lunch, daily walks, and better grocery habits. Others ignore checkouts because they are afraid of what they might find. But avoiding information does not remove risk. It only removes the chance to act sooner. And finally, many people think they need perfect blood sugar habits before anything will matter. That is not true. Moderate improvements practiced consistently can make a real difference. If this topic feels heavy, remember this: you do not need to change everything today. Start with a few practical basics, walk more, especially after meals. Build meals around protein, fiber-rich foods, and better structure. Reduce sugary drinks and avoid excess snacks. Sleep more consistently. Pay attention to stress. Know your numbers. That is already a strong beginning. Once the habits feel more natural, you can build from there. Maybe you add strength training, maybe you improve breakfast, maybe you reduce late night grazing, maybe you get screened and work with a clinician if needed. The point is not to panic. The point is to create conditions in which your body can do a better job. Better blood sugar control is built through patterns, not perfection. Lifestyle changes are powerful, but it is also important to state this clearly. Sometimes medical support is needed. Some people have blood sugar levels high enough that medication, strict monitoring, or more formal diabetes care becomes essential. Others may have strong family history, significant insulin resistance, or additional health conditions that require more than self-directed lifestyle changes. There is no shame in that. In fact, getting help early is often a smarter choice. If you already have diabetes, you may your care may include blood sugar monitoring, medication, regular A1C checks, and a personalized plan from a healthcare team. ADA guidance notes that A1C goals are individualized, though for many non-pregnant adults, a target below 7% is commonly used. The real message is this: do not wait for things to become dramatic before taking them seriously. Better blood sugar control may begin with daily habits, but it sometimes also requires professional support, testing, and treatment. Both things can be true. Your body is working every day to manage energy, regulate blood sugar, and keep you functioning. It does that when you wake up, when you eat, when you move, when you rest, when you are stressed. when you recover. And because blood sugar affects so much more than people realize, it deserves more attention than it usually gets. The good news is that better blood sugar control is not built only in clinics and labs. It is built in breakfast choices, in grocery carts, in evening walks, in sleep routines, in less sugar, more fiber, better meals, more movement, and more awareness. You do not need to become perfect overnight. You do not need to fear every carb. You do not need to fix everything at once. You just need to start supporting your body more consistently than before. One balanced meal at a time, one walk at a time, one earlier bedtime at a time, one better habit at a time, one checkup at a time. Because better blood sugar control is not only about preventing problems in the future, it is also about building a steadier, healthier lifestyle in the present.